Why is it so hard to actually say what I feel?
Just keep it together.
Don't be too much.
Somewhere along the way, you learned to hold it in, to soften your truth, to shape your voice, to be easier to love. But your body knows, your voice knows, and there's a place inside you where nothing is forced, where everything real gets to exist. This is that place. Welcome to G-Spot. Hello, you're listening to G-Spot. I am Graciela, Serena, your host, and I am so glad you're here. I just want to talk a little bit about my programs. They are upgraded, and I am so stoked about this. It's truly such a blessing to be able to hold these types of containers, and I did change the name. So we have the Ignite Your Flame package. This is where you get to come home and really own your truth and who you are. And then we have the Feed Your Fire package, which is a 10-session package. The last one was a 6-session. And this one is where it piggybacks off of the flame, where you really get to meet yourself. And in the Feed Your Fire, it's really like how to express that in your outer world with your relationships and your whole entire being, and how to come alive in doing such. There's embodiment practice. There's lots of knowledge that you can obtain from this, but it's also like really focusing on looking at where our blind spots are, where the stories are, and moving it through the body. So those are open. Please reach out if you would like to work with me. I would love to work with you. So today, we're going to get into how to have conflict without losing the other person and without it turning into an explosion or a shutdown. Because there's a lot of people who, would say that fighting is not healthy, but I actually disagree. Very, very much so. Fighting is actually really important because relationships can have uncomfortable conversations, but it's what we do with these moments of tension that make the difference. I want to talk about the book Fight Right by Julie and John Gottman. This book kind of goes into, the conflict. It's a great book, and it talks about how there's the avoidant, we're not talking attachment, but like the avoidant and conflict. There's the validator who's like, okay, yeah, whatever, who abandon themselves before they actually get to stay in their truth. And then there's the volatile. And the avoidance, that actually you would think, we don't argue, but it is natural for things to come up. It is natural for, moments of tension and to be able to work through that as a team. So we're going to talk about this because I think it's a really important topic. It's really a topic that I think a lot of people have hard times around. And, in the book Fight Right, it talks about how fighting is healthy. It is. It's just what we do with it. And they are literally, like, they've worked with, like, 3,000 different couples, and they've, ran, like, little lab tests of, like, having them in a B&B, and, like, they've been, like, looking at this, and really looking at the details. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about some things of what I've read in this book, but also like things that I just already have implemented into my relationship to really, have a powerful breakthrough between me and my partner. It is more so the The conflict used to be explosive and it used to leave us drained. And now conflict arises, it peaks just a little bit. We have our little, okay, I'm trying to understand you, you're trying to understand me, and then we're good. So I just want to talk about this because I want this for you. I don't want you to feel so defeated after conflict. And I think that I know that there is a way to that. So let's get into it. I also just want to make a disclaimer before I do get into it that this isn't permission to get in those toxic relationships where there's conflict all the time and it's draining you all the time and there's no winning. Okay, this isn't permission for that. I'm not trying to be like, yeah, get in that relationship where you're like fiery, passionate, gonna scream at you all the time and like it's abusive. No. Just gonna cut that real quick. Been there, done that. Don't want you to do it. If you've already done it, I love you. Thank you for being here. And let's get into some healthy conflict. Okay? We're gonna talk about connection bids. If you don't know what that is, a connection bid is basically a little small moment where someone is reaching for connection. It's very small, okay? So it's like, look at this. Guess what happened today? Can I tell you about something? A sigh, a laugh, a touch, a question. And sometimes the bids are subtle. It's very subtle. Most bids are subtle, but they matter. And here's why. When those little bids get ignored over and over and over again, the relationship can start to feel lonely, even when you're spending copious amounts of time together. Big conflict actually can really come from tiny little dismissals, tiny little moments. And this is a huge, huge, huge way that a relationship can start dying. So, little bids, lock that one in. It's an important one. Now we're going to talk about the pause. I kind of talked about this last time with the attachment pause, but I want to talk about the pause, like the real pause when you're triggered and you are like, I am going to scream, I am going to shut down, I am going to go crazy. Here's the sequence. You're going to pause. You're going to regulate. If you don't have regulation tools, go find them. Come work with me. Go read a book. Figure out what works for you. Go get regulation tools, okay? Because this is the big part of it. You do not want to go into these things without being regulated. That's the biggest part of why we react, why we literally explode, why we shut down, is if we're not regulated, it's very hard to go into conversations. And one of the biggest things is we want to get curious. That's the next step. We want to get curious. When we're not regulated, curiosity does not exist. Okay? Cannot stress these two enough. We want to be able to be curious. If we are not regulated, we will not be able to do so. Yeah? Then you're going to own your part. I know. It sucks because it's all their fault, really, you know? No, baby. It's time. It's time to take your accountability. This does not mean letting go of your truth and taking all the accountability, but we want to own the part. Then we're going to communicate. Let's talk about the owning your part. And I want to tell you, like, the first three, like, I'm not going to go as deep into those, but those are very vital steps. So I do want to talk to you about owning your part because I don't want you taking it all on. It's not all yours to take on. It takes two to tango, right? But owning your part is important. Accountability is important, yeah? Owning your part does not mean it's all my fault. I blame myself fully. You're good. I take it all. It means I am willing to see my part even when I'm hurt. Examples of that could be I raised my voice. I made an assumption. I shut down. I wasn't actually available. I wasn't actually listening. This was a big one for me. And now I actually say to people, if they're talking to me and I just zone out, I go, I'm so sorry. Could you repeat that? Because I was not listening. Just own that. Why? Do you know how many times I see, and I know, and I've been that, I have been there, where it's like, you just pretend that you're listening and then you're like, uh-huh. Like, I know sometimes we don't actually care. Like, we need to be somewhere, somebody's talking to us, like, blah, blah, blah. But, like, for actual connection, why can't we just, like, flip it and reverse it just a little bit so that we actually can connect, right? And then another one is, I brought up something from the past and put it into this conversation. I'm sorry about that. Yeah? Like, once you start really getting down this shadow work, you're able to be like, man, I really saw you as my ex just now. Oh man, like that one time, this is reminding me of that one time. And I'm sorry, I did react out of that, you know? That's self-leadership. Next, we're going to talk about communication. And it's going to be kind of nonviolent communication, but here's the deal. So this is the basic skeleton of it, right? So observation, right? What actually happened? Feeling. What am I feeling? Need. What's important to me underneath that feeling? Request. What am I asking for? Isn't it crazy that we don't ask ourselves these things? Like, we don't actually think about what we're needing or what we're asking for. And then we go into conflict and wonder why nothing got resolved. Why we feel weird afterwards. Instead of, you don't care about me and you're always ignoring me, try, when I was telling you about my day and you went back to your phone, I felt disconnected and unimportant. Connection is really important to me. Would you be willing to put your phone down for a few minutes while we talk? That's a request. You're allowed to have a request, right? But it's not blaming them. It's not, you don't care. Screw you. But this is where people can still weaponize it, even though they learn the formula. So I'm going to tell you a little bit how this happens. An example of this is when you don't text me, I feel like you're being selfish and inconsiderate. That's technically dressed up as a feeling because selfish and inconsiderate are a judgment, right? Not feelings. Or, I feel like you don't care about me. I feel like doesn't automatically make something a feeling. That's still projecting a story, right? That's, I feel like you're an asshole. Like, you can use that and literally cause so much more damage just by thinking that you're doing NVC. And it's a very manipulative tactic, right? And it's not always conscious. But we have to be careful about how we use these tools. That's a you statement wearing an I costume. And like, it's not really doing anything, right? You can put an I feel in front of a judgment and it's still a judgment, you know? It is what it is. But somehow I think that this area gets really blurry and really twisted. And I understand because we're trying to understand it. Some people, I think, really do just use it to their advantage in the like spiritual worlds. They're like, oh no, I'm elevated. So I feel that you need to bow down to me. That's an extra statement, but you know what I mean. Yeah. So, and some people are just trying to learn these things and they're just like going in a different direction. And I'm here to tell you that we're going to go, that if you really want to use this as a tool for healthy conflict, you're going to want to stick with the actual feeling and stay away from the judgments and stay away from the you statements. Don't use communication tools to manipulate someone. Okay, so I just kind of talked about that a little bit in this last one, you know, with the use and the judgment. Healthy communication isn't like, here's the perfect sentence so that you will understand me. It's more like, here's what's true for me. I'm willing to hear what's true for you. That's the difference between communication and control. Okay? And I'm saying these things because I know a lot of people are like, I used the tools. I did NVC. I know NVC. I'm like, we're just still fighting over the fight and blah, blah, blah. Well, how are you using the tools? Because that's an important factor. And I'm not shaming you in it because I'm telling you that it's a thing that people miss a lot. But I am just trying to help in the sense that maybe we're moving in a different direction than what is actually aligned with NVC and what is actually aligned with your truth and their truth, right? And this is really important. So I really want this to sink in for you, okay? Because what if somebody doesn't meet you? Someone can still dismiss you. Someone can still refuse accountability. Someone can still manipulate you, violate your boundaries, repeatedly ignore your needs. It's not always if I communicate perfectly, my relationship will be so much healthier. Sometimes these needs don't get met, and I want you to know that that's your decision on whether or not you want to participate and stay in that. And unfortunately, sometimes that is a hard thing to face, is if somebody cannot meet you, then sometimes it's time to walk away. And you get to discern that. You get to make that decision. That's not my decision to make for you. But, you know, also, if you're doing this type of work and you're really going deep and you're like, whatever it may be, programs, books, workshops, whatever it is, then there's going to be a point where that actually just might not work for you, period. And it's actually not that hard of a decision. So I love y'all so much. I really do. And I really hope that you enjoyed this episode. This is so powerful. And I want you to be able to fight right, just like the book says, because this is where a lot of power gets lost. And you are so freaking powerful. Don't be letting anybody take that. This is the moment. These moments are powerful moments for connection, but they're also moments for you to really choose yourself, really come back home, really know what you need. Be free. These are steps to your freedom, to coming alive, to thriving in life, to be able to stand up for yourself, but also be compassionate and have an open mind and not live in a world where all your projections are isolating you. Okay? So comment, like, share, rate. It really helps. And I appreciate y'all so much. Seriously. And I will see you in the next episode. Mwah.
Thank you for listening to G Spot, where your truth turns you on. This isn't just something you listen to, it's something you live. So take what landed here and bring it into your next conversation, your next boundary, your next moment of truth. If you're walking this path and want to go deeper, find me on Instagram at Graciela Serena Music. You can find more information on how to work with me below in the show notes. And if this resonated, let it travel. Share, comment. I would love to hear from you. But most of all, remember, your truth isn't too much. Your voice isn't the problem. Stay there, in that place where it's real. I'll see you next time.